I'm divorcing you, you useless lowlife. And I'll be demanding alimony too.
My wife, Sadie, heartlessly shoved divorce papers in my face while I lay in a hospital bed after an accident. Not only that, she also said she'd be demanding alimony. I wanted to retort out of frustration, but the pain in my body prevented me from speaking. Understood. In the end, that was my resigned response. After Sadie left, the next person to enter my hospital room was the president of Imperial Holdings, a major corporation. And from his mouth, I learned a shocking truth. My name is Nick Smith, 30 years old. I work for a large company. Due to family circumstances, I only graduated high school, but I worked part-time while getting certifications and managed to land a job at my current company. Compared to my peers who graduated from prestigious universities, my salary is lower, but it's more than what your average salaryman makes, and for someone like me without many material desires, it's enough. However, the daily grind of commuting between work and home was far from enjoyable, and as I lived, I came to understand something. That is, there are important things in life beyond work and money. Now that I'm 30, these thoughts often cross my mind, and sometimes I feel a sense of emptiness. That feeling grew day by day until it manifested into something tangible.
Welcome.
The usual cheerful voice greeted me as I stepped into the convenience store I always visited after work. That voice, bright and energetic, resonated through my tired body. Lately, I found myself coming to the convenience store not so much to buy dinner but to hear her voice. What I bought didn't matter, but I'd choose a meal that needed heating and head to the register.
You want this warmed up, right?
Without me even needing to reply, she smiled and heated it up for me, knowing I was a regular. Her name tag, reflecting the fluorescent lights, read Sophia. All I knew about her was her first name. Judging by her appearance, I guessed she was a college student. She was probably attending classes during the day and working in the evening. Thank you. I received my purchase from her as I said that.
Thank you very much.
She replied with a smile. That brief exchange was a small comfort in my otherwise monotonous life. Of course, I knew this couldn't go on forever. If she was a college student, she'd eventually leave once she graduated and found a job. And it wasn't healthy for a 30-year-old man to develop feelings for a young girl with her whole future ahead of her. It was better to distance myself before those feelings grew. However, the more I thought about it, the more I found myself visiting the convenience store to see Sophia. It was during this period that I unexpectedly ran into Sadie, my high school sweetheart. She was at a party hosted by one of our client companies. Even though more than a decade had passed, I recognized her immediately. Feeling awkward, I looked away, but she casually approached me.
Nick, what are you doing here?
She glanced at the name badge around my neck as she said that.
What, Nick? You work for Imperial Holdings? No way. You're just a high school graduate, aren't you? You'd never make it past the resume screening.
Sadie had always been blunt, and it seemed her personality hadn't changed. But I was an adult now and could laugh off her rude comments. Haha, you're as sharp-tongued as ever, Sadie. Academic background and intelligence aren't the same thing. What's needed in the real world is people skills. She widened her eyes slightly as I said that confidently. This was her expression when she acknowledged someone.
If you could get a job at Imperial Holdings, I wouldn't have broken up with you.
This one comment rekindled our relationship, and things moved quickly toward marriage. Just 3 months after our reunion, we were married. Our newlywed life began with her moving into my apartment. We thought about getting a new place, but my 2-bedroom apartment was enough for the two of us, and we decided to move once we had kids. Marrying Sadie meant I no longer had to go to the convenience store for dinner. I stopped trying to see Sophia, convincing myself it was for the best. Surely, it was fate for me to be reunited with Sadie. By the way, it wasn't Sadie who cooked. She was bad at all household chores, especially cooking. I grew up in a single-mother household, and when my mom worked late, I made dinner for my younger brother, Alex, so I was good at cooking. The same went for housework. I believed that whoever could do it should, so we didn't clash over chores. Sadie, being in sales, had many social engagements and came home drunk every night. She'd then start drinking at home and complain about work to me. At first, I listened quietly, but I grew tired of it. I decided to go to bed before she came home, but she'd wake me up to vent. I couldn't take it anymore and finally told her, "If work is that tough, why don't you quit? We have enough savings, and I can support you."
Really? You'll support me?
She was reeking of alcohol as she said that. I nodded, rubbing my sleepy eyes. Sadie quickly quit her job and stayed home, but she showed no interest in doing housework, instead spending every day going out and posting about it on social media. It was better than listening to her complaints every night, so I said nothing. However, her outings became more extravagant. Recently, she started going out in the evening and coming home late at night. Her spending also increased. She used to earn a decent salary, so it was understandable that she couldn't lower her standard of living. But she began buying designer bags and clothes and expensive wines, spending money like never before. I've heard that people under stress spend money recklessly. She was spending most of her salary like water. I began to worry that our marriage was causing her great stress. "Sadie, you've been spending a lot lately. Are you okay?" She glared at me and said,
What? Do you have a problem with that? Or are you saying that after making me quit my job, you also want me to stop buying what I want?
"I didn't make you quit. I just suggested you quit if work was that hard."
Same thing.
Sadie laughed sarcastically.
Want a divorce? Fine by me, but I'll be demanding alimony.
I was frustrated but didn't want to divorce her. It wasn't so much love as stubbornness. I had ended my feelings for Sophia with this marriage. One day, after work, I wonder how Sophia's doing. Suddenly thinking of her, I decided to visit the convenience store I hadn't been to in a while. Even though nothing would come of meeting her now, I suddenly wanted to hear her voice.
It's been a while. I was worried because you hadn't come in for so long. I thought you might be sick.
Sophia greeted me with an innocent smile when she saw my face. I felt a pang of guilt. It's not like anything would change just because I got married, but I had been fixating on my feelings for her. A sense of unease washed over me. Actually, I got married recently.
Oh, really? Congratulations. So, your wife cooks for you now, and you don't need to buy dinner here anymore?
Well, I struggled to find an answer and glanced out the window. At that moment, I had a bad feeling. It was an instinct, almost like an animal's intuition in a crisis. I reached over the counter and pushed Sophia as hard as I could. Her surprised figure vanished from my sight in an instant. No, it was me who vanished. A car had crashed through the door and hit me. I heard her scream as my consciousness faded, her voice echoing in the distance. I felt her hand touch my cheek as she ran to my side. Good. It looks like you're not hurt, Sophia. I tried to say these words, but they probably didn't come out. A wave of drowsiness overcame me, and I fell into darkness. When I woke up again, I was in a hospital bed.
You're awake. Fortunately, your life isn't in danger. You were hit by a car that crashed into the store because the driver mixed up the gas and brake. You're really unlucky.
Sadie was standing by my bed. I tried to get up, but pain shot through my lower body, leaving me speechless.
Even if your life isn't in danger, you've got serious injuries. The doctor said you might have trouble walking and could have lasting effects. Working will be impossible for a while. And even if you do recover, do you think your job will still be there? So, sign this.
She handed me divorce papers.
I'm divorcing you, you useless lowlife. And I'll be demanding alimony too.
Our marriage was already broken. I knew divorce was inevitable, but did she have to do it now? And she wanted alimony on top of that.
You're always so unlucky. Even in high school, your mom collapsed suddenly, and college was out of the question. You're still at the bottom. By the way, I'm seeing someone else. He's the CEO of a certain company. I'll divorce you and marry him.
I wanted to retort, but all that came out was a word of resignation. Understood. I answered and took the pen with trembling hands. As much as I hated it, everything Sadie said was true. It was the day of my college entrance exam. My mother suddenly collapsed from a subarachnoid hemorrhage. I was about to leave the house in perfect condition for the exam. I called an ambulance and went with her to the hospital.
Big bro, you've got an important exam, right? I'll stay with Mom, so you go. You've been studying so hard for this.
Alex was almost in tears as he said that. But as the eldest son, I couldn't leave. Besides, after what happened, I couldn't take the exam with a clear mind. In the end, I stayed with my mother through her surgery. She survived, but was left partially paralyzed. Instead of going to college, I spent the next 4 years taking care of her and doing distance learning.
Why didn't you go to the exam? Whether you were there or not, your mom's fate wouldn't have changed. Didn't you just not want to take the test?
Sadie threw those harsh words at me and walked away. She had always been practical. If I could think like her, I might have taken the exam despite my mom's collapse and gotten into college. Maybe then, my mom wouldn't have felt so guilty. The person who blamed themselves the most for me missing the exam was my mom.
Because of me, your life got messed up. I'm so sorry. I'm really sorry.
She would always apologize while enduring her rehabilitation. Don't apologize like that. Just because I didn't go to college doesn't mean my life is ruined. I'll make things right, so watch me. With a determination to put my mom at ease, I pursued distance learning. It was tough, but being home allowed me to study in peace. Not having to go out meant fewer distractions, and I could learn at my own pace. My high school-aged brother, Alex, also helped take care of our mom. Thanks to him, the rehabilitation that was expected to take a long time ended sooner, and I believe it worked out for the best. Getting into a large company was partly because the CEO heard about how I studied while taking care of my mom and valued that. In fact, he said the company needed employees with strong perseverance like mine. I was convinced that enduring hardships would eventually bring good things. Humanity has developed such a rich culture because efforts are always rewarded. Even so, I couldn't hide my surprise when I saw the person who entered the room after Sadie left with the divorce papers.
Nick, I couldn't stay away when I heard about your accident.
Mr. Williams. But why? The pain kept me from saying more. Trying to move brought unbearable agony.
You're seriously injured. Don't push yourself. Just listen to what I have to say without straining.
I nodded slightly.
I am your biological father.
What? I couldn't comprehend his words. What was the CEO talking about? According to my mom, my father left when I was 2 and Alex was still in the womb. More importantly, the idea that my father could be a major company CEO seemed impossible. I must still be unconscious, dreaming. Trying to confirm, I attempted to pinch my cheek with a trembling hand, but the searing pain throughout my body proved it wasn't a dream.
I am sorry to surprise you at a time like this. Your mother made me promise to keep it a secret.
My mom, what do you mean? I quickly asked. But another voice interrupted from the doorway.
Nick, are you okay?
Nick, oh, how did this happen?
Alex and my mother, who walked in with a cane, had arrived. If what the CEO said was true, our entire family was now together.
June.
The CEO called my mom's name.
Matthew.
The way my mom looked at him was not how one would look at a stranger. It was clear they had a deep connection. However, Alex, who didn't know the situation, was left confused.
What's going on here?
Alex looked back and forth between my mom and Matthew, the CEO. Matthew continued talking.
Listen to me. My current wife and I don't have children. When we pass away, the inheritance will go to you and your brother, and the position of CEO at Imperial Holdings.
Wait a minute, I can't be a CEO. Seeing my family brought me some peace, and I finally found my voice. Besides telling me this now, is it because you feel guilty for ignoring us all this time? My mom went through a lot after you left. She worked too hard trying to raise us alone. I looked at my mother, leaning on her cane, supported by Alex. That's why she collapsed and ended up with a disability. Do you think we'd be happy if you suddenly claimed to be our father? It's too late for that. And you only come after I have an accident. Unlike when I was talking to Sadie, my mind was clear now. Maybe the painkillers were working, as I didn't feel much pain anymore.
I'm sorry. I know it's too late to claim to be your father, but
My mother, who had been listening silently, spoke up.
No, Nick. I told him to never come near us again. I was stubborn. We weren't even married. I was just his mistress. The lies were mine.
Her voice quivered.
Mom, is that true?
Alex expressed his disbelief.
Yes, it's true. I caused you both so much trouble. I'm sorry.
Seeing my mother cry was harder than the injury. So, did you hire me because I'm your son?
No. Your hiring was decided by the HR department, and they didn't know you were my son. They'd be shocked if they knew.
That relieved me. I had made it into the company on my own merits. I'm not someone who needs rescuing. I've proven myself by making it this far. Besides, my net worth is $50 million. Everyone in the room looked stunned. Even my mother, who had been crying, stared at me in surprise.
Nick, what are you talking about? Did you hit your head? Maybe you should get another checkup.
Alex was worried as he said Thada. Alex, I'm completely serious. I never told you, but I've been trading Forex for the past 10 years. I started small, every cent mattered back then, but that pressure became my driving force. Even after explaining, my mother and Alex remained stunned. They're not familiar with financial trading.
Wait, you built a $50 million fortune through Forex? At your age? In just 10 years? That's unbelievable.
Matthew was pale-faced as he said that. Being young helped me succeed. But it wasn't fun, it felt empty. I thought seeing the numbers in my account grow would make me happy, but it didn't. I remembered Sophia's voice and smile at the convenience store. She meant more to me than any amount of money. By the way, about Sophia. Is she okay? I blurted out her name. I vaguely remembered confirming her safety before losing consciousness, but I wasn't sure. Just the thought of something happening to her made me anxious.
Nick, don't move. You need to stay still.
Alex rushed over as I tried to get up, groaning in pain. Then I heard that familiar, soothing voice.
Nick, you're awake. Thank goodness.
Sophia entered the room. She didn't seem to have any major injuries. I sighed with relief. Thank goodness you're okay, Sophia. She rushed to my side with a pained expression.
You saved me and ended up like this. How can I ever apologize? Are you all Nick's family? He protected me with his life. Without him, I don't know what would have happened.
You're not my brother's wife, right?
Alex asked hesitantly. I couldn't help but raise my voice. No way. Sophia is a clerk at the convenience store. By the way, my wife Sadie was here earlier and then left. It wasn't unreasonable for Alex to be confused. We had rushed into marriage without properly introducing each other to our families. Sadie had a strained relationship with her parents and refused to meet mine.
In modern times, marriage is only a matter for the couple.
That was her reasoning. So, we didn't even have a wedding. I only told my mom and Alex that we were officially married, but never got around to introducing them. And now she wants a divorce. She doesn't want to take care of an injured man.
No, it's my fault.
Sophia's voice was filled with sorrow, and I smiled gently at her. It's not your fault. Our marriage was already falling apart. Sadie had someone else she wanted to marry. Whether the accident happened or not, we were destined to separate. Just then, a nurse came in.
All right, everyone, visiting hours are over. The patient is seriously injured, so don't overstrain him.
Scolded by the nurse, the four of them left the room reluctantly. What made me happy was that Sophia visited me almost every day from then on. Thanks to her, I began to regain some mobility within a month. The doctors said I could be discharged in another month, with no signs of lasting effects. But I felt guilty about her spending her valuable time with a college student like me. You weren't the cause of the accident, so you don't need to feel guilty. I'll be fine, so enjoy your college life. Even though I said that, she shook her head.
I'm not coming out of guilt. I care about you, Nick.
That's when I realized something felt off. Actually, did I ever tell you my name? I only remembered speaking to her at the convenience store. Maybe she saw my name on a payment slip. Or so I quickly thought. I'm happy you remembered my name. She suddenly covered her face and said,
I'm sorry.
Then she ran out of the room.
Ah.
But soon, I heard a scream and a collision. Then I heard a familiar angry voice.
Hey, watch where you're going. Who are you anyway? What's your relationship with Nick?
It was unmistakably Sadie's voice, and I sighed deeply. What was she doing here now?
Why haven't you answered your phone? I called over 100 times.
She glared at me like a demon, and I retorted. My phone broke in the accident. I couldn't answer even if I wanted to. What's the problem? Was there an issue with the divorce papers?
I filed them right away. We're no longer married. But half of your assets are mine. I found out you have a $50 million fortune. Why didn't you tell me?
As if I'd ever tell her. So, you're here to claim half. Aren't you marrying some CEO guy? Besides, having money doesn't bring happiness. What's really important is. But she interrupted before I could finish.
That CEO? Oh, I dumped him. He was buried in debt. When I looked into it, his debts outweighed his assets.
Then, in an instant, her tone turned sweet.
I'm not asking for half. Let's get married again. We didn't really understand each other before. If we talk it out, we can be good partners.
She moved closer, and I instinctively turned my face away. No amount of money will make me want to marry you again.
What?
The color drained from her face. No way, never again, not in this lifetime or the next. Take as much money as you want, just get far away from me. At that moment, a sharp pain shot through my head. I see Sadie had brass knuckles on her hand. With a crazed expression, she started swinging at me repeatedly.
You?
I curled up, trying to protect my head, but she kept hitting me without mercy. As I felt my life was in danger, I heard a shout.
What are you doing?
Several footsteps approached, and suddenly Sadie was pulled away from me. Even while being restrained by security, she continued to struggle. Sophia rushed over and spread her arms protectively in front of me.
Who are you? Move aside.
I won't. Stop hurting him.
Despite the throbbing pain in my head, I was moved by Sophia's bravery. In the end, Sadie was taken away by the police. It turned out she had been involved in other similar incidents with her previous boyfriends, who had also filed complaints against her. Apparently, the incident had caused a mental breakdown, and she was now in a police hospital.
I think Sadie really did love you from the bottom of her heart. You must have been very kind to her. She truly wanted to live with you.
Was I kind to her? I listened to her complaints every night and even told her she could quit her job if she didn't like it, but that wasn't out of kindness. It was so I could sleep. Sophia sighed.
She didn't have anyone else who treated her that way. You don't realize how kind you are. Nick. Maybe that's a kind of fault in itself.
Really? I tilted my head, not quite understanding her.
Yes, you always said thank you.
What? I didn't understand what she was saying and asked again.
When I heated up your meal, you said thank you. When I gave you your change, you said thank you. When I handed you your items, you said thank you. Even though I'm the clerk, you were always the first to say thank you.
Did I? I guess that's just normal. I'm getting a service, after all. But it was your voice that gave me strength every day. You gave me hope when I had nothing to look forward to. I wondered if I was saying something embarrassing. But I couldn't stop now. I'm good at cooking. Since my mom worked nights, I made dinner for my brother too. But I still bought meals from the convenience store every day. Do you know why?
Why?
Because I wanted to see you. She suddenly stood up from her chair. I realized I had said something wrong and quickly apologized. Sorry for saying something weird.
I have to go to my part-time job.
She grabbed her things and hurried out. I must have completely messed up. For the first time in my life, I felt true regret. A wave of regret much stronger than when I skipped my college entrance exam washed over me.
By the way, my name is Sophia Hill.
She popped her head back in after I thought she had left.
I'm actually a senior in high school. I knew you thought I was a college student, but I couldn't tell you. I was afraid you'd think of me as a kid and ignore me.
A cold sweat ran down my back. I had created a very risky situation where a 30-year-old man was pursuing a high school student. Still, it's frightening how you can never tell a girl's age at all. Your mature mannerisms and speech, I never would have guessed you were in high school. I'm really sorry. Please forget what I said. The idea of me getting arrested after Sadie was laughable.
No, I won't forget. I recorded it on my phone.
After saying that, she fled the room. All I could do was watch her go, pale and helpless. Alex walked in just as she left and said,
Sophia was here again, ho.
Hey, Alex, how do you know her first name?
I asked her on the first day she came. Why?
He answered nonchalantly. She's still in high school. I scolded him. But Alex remained unfazed.
I know, she's in the art club at her high school. Balancing a part-time job and club activities, high school girls these days have it tough.
Why didn't you tell me sooner? Alex froze in surprise at my reprimand. After a moment, he started grinning and said,
Big bro, don't tell me.
Hey, stop imagining weird things. My voice echoed through the hospital. Sophia and I finally became a married couple 3 years later. She turned 20 and is now attending an art university. I thought her parents would never allow a man in his 30s to marry their daughter while she was still a student, but it turned out to be the exact opposite. Her parents were overjoyed about our marriage. Of course, saving her during the convenience store accident must have raised her parents' opinion of me. At our small, family-only wedding, my mom, Alex, and even the busy Matthew managed to attend.
No matter what you think, you are a dear son to me. Your happiness is what makes me happiest.
Matthew said that to me. However, my resentment towards him hadn't fully disappeared. Especially since Alex, who was still in our mom's womb when he left, had never been held by him. That was what bothered me the most. But Alex, somehow, had grown close to him.
Matthew, please teach me how to play golf. We're having a company tournament, but I can't hit the ball straight at all.
All right, let's do it. Despite how I look, I was once called a semi-pro in my younger days.
Watching them talk happily, I felt a mix of emotions.
Alex really has a talent for getting along with everyone.
I nodded at my mom's words. It's surely thanks to his boundless cheerfulness. He always lifted my spirits. By the way, don't you think Sophia and Alex are alike?
Yes, that's probably why you were drawn to her. And
My mom suddenly chuckled. What? Did something funny happen?
I just think you and your father are quite alike.
What? That was something I couldn't ignore. The idea that I resembled the father who abandoned us made me angry.
But it's only natural. You're his son after all.
My mom laughed lightly as she said that. Then Sophia came running over.
June, let's take a photo together.
She flashed her usual bright smile at my mom.
Oh, I'd love that.
Standing before the camera Alex held, they looked like a real mother and daughter. Seeing them like that filled me with immense happiness. I had finally found a treasure that was priceless and irreplaceable.